All right. Good morning, everyone. This is Lisa Wade and Dirt Road Divinity. Today, I am so excited for episode number 4 with dear friend Sky Kier. Sky, how the hell are you?
I'm doing great. Good morning, Lisa. How are you?
Well, I am so glad that you had an opportunity to share some time today. For the rest of you, Sky is just one of my favorite people. If I don't have an older brother, but if I did, I would hope that it would be someone very much like Sky.
I'd run for it.
You'd be
Not
up
from
for
it.
it. Well, one of the things that I so appreciate in our conversations is that you're another person from the South who
Indeed.
kind of understands that this the spiritual path in the South can be an interesting road to travel,
Oh, yeah.
especially when it's not quite consistent with the predominant prevailing attitudes. And we've had such great conversations, over the years now that we've known each other. And you have so much wisdom and have so much life experience that I think that
She
there are
means
others.
old folks. Yeah,
I'm glad you said it, not me.
it's
But
fine.
I know that there's wisdom and insight within you that has helped to shape me and my understanding of the world, and the opportunity to bring that and share that with others is a treat for me. So first of all, I just want to say thank you. But I just want to talk and dive into your journeys.
Cool.
Do you mind sharing a little bit about yourself, where you came from, where you are now?
No, not at all. And I am delighted to be here too. Let's just have some fun.
Perfect.
Uh, Hi, everybody. I'm Sky, just SKY, no E on the end. I love Scotland, but mine's just a three-letter word. Just like the one overhead. I get called Scott a lot. That's one thing about being raised in the South is we love our vowels, but we're not so good on our consonants every once in a while, if you know what I mean. So I'm Sky. Where did I come from? What's my story? Born in Chattanooga, Tennessee in the 50s. I'm a child of Eisenhower. So yeah, I got some mileage. Finally ran away from home at the age of 40. Went to live in Pensacola, Florida, bounced back up to Nashville for a few years, and currently I'm spot between Denver and Boulder, Colorado, in a little place called Lafayette, and I also have a home in downtown Denver, so I go back and forth that way.
Beautiful
Uh,
country.
it is. I mean, it's paradise. Honest to goodness, folks. If you haven't been here, as soon as you feel free from the pandemic, come. I actually shed tears driving home from the grocery store every once in a while. It's beautiful out here.
Yeah, it really is.
What do you
It
want to know about me? I don't know what, there's so many fishing
Where are
stories.
we
I don't know
going?
what to unravel.
Well, if you're willing to go here, I know
Anyway,
that we've had conversations about spiritual gifts. And, I'm of the belief that every single person on the planet has access to
absolutely.
deeper inner spiritual gifts. And I know that sometimes the thought of actually going with those gifts when they're presented, rather than backing away and going, oh my God, people are going to think I'm batshit crazy, if I go down this path. Um, Sometimes that's a difficult journey and a tough decision to make. And sometimes it's only with age that we give ourselves full permission to step into all of who we are, not just the socially acceptable box of who other people think we are or are okay with us being. Um, I know you've got gifts. Would you be willing to share a little bit about how you connect with your gifts, what those mean in your life, and kind of the journey of honoring them, and maybe sometimes putting them in a closet, and maybe other times coming back out, and what's that look
Oh
like?
yeah. I like to call it the rheostat. Just run that thing up and down.
Yeah.
Sometimes you don't want things coming in. Sometimes you just want to have oatmeal, folks. It's um gosh. uh, Psychic stuff is what we're going to start with, guys. And everybody there's clairaudience, there's clairvoyance, there's Clara Barton, there's Claire everything.
All the Claires.
I don't break it down that way. I've always been a little like this. I'm very musical. I'm very auditory. The first time that I know that I ever channeled anything, I said the other day to you, I was 3. I believe I was actually 4. And I was playing a piano and I heard a voice in the notes of the music, which if it doesn't make sense to you, that's okay. It didn't make sense to a 4-year-old either. I was just playing. For me, it is a matter of just being willing and being open and going through a process. I'm fast forwarding on you, so get me to go slower if I'm in the middle of the book.
You're good.
But going through a process of just relaxing into it. The word is allowing. The word is allowing. If you try to do this stuff, I find it's enormously frustrating. I find that you force, and I find even worse, the temptation to substitute your wisdom for what you're receiving is difficult to avoid if you feel the urge to perform or the pressure to do so.
Yeah.
It has to be, see, I even changed my breath when I got there. It has to be simply dropping a net in the water, just like the shrimp boats when I lived in Pensacola. And what comes, comes. And it may not make half the time, none of it makes sense to me. Yeah. But the person I'm talking to, I take a little secret joy in the wide-eyed, who told you that? I'm like,
so I take it you've had the experiences where you might get a message out of seemingly nowhere, and hey, go tell so-and-so over there this thing.
Oh my God, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, some ugly ones, some pretty ones, some wonderful ones. Yeah, I can tell you the awful ones. I can tell you the significant ones. They're the most impressive if you want to hear.
Well, it seems like when doing that it's a matter of getting ego out of the way. Whether could this be real or not, or will this person think I'm nuts or not, or,
oh, yeah.
Being willing to be that conduit.
No, they're going to. Know that they're going to think you're nuts. Laugh with them. Don't try to impress. Just go, hey, look, I know this isn't going to make any sense to you right now, but do me a favor, hold your son's hand for the rest of the afternoon. Yeah. Just, you'll never see me again. I don't want anything from you. I'm disappearing. Do it.
Wow.
Which is just nuts to do to people. And of course, their responses are not good.
Yeah.
But how do you not do it? I'll tell you the story about the time I didn't do it.
Uh-oh. Okay.
I was driving a car. It was a used car lot. God knows what possessed me to want to drive a used car. But I did, a lot, not a dealership, one of those lots, be careful, folks. And they left me the key. It was a Sunday. This is what Chattanooga used to be like. They left me the key under a shrub so I could drive this car. There wasn't anybody there. So I drove the car. I went down to a gas station that'll remain nameless on a road that'll remain nameless. And I'm going into the BP because the car needed gas. So I'm going in and my hand hits the rail for the door to go in. And it comes to me the way that bad jokes come to all of us sometimes, and you go, I'm not going to say that. It's like, go in and tell them a joke about look out for the guy who comes in with a gun later. Ha, ha, ha. And I'm like, that's nuts. That's stupid. What? Never mind. It's bad humor. I have a bad sense of humor anyway. I'm known for telling terrible jokes in the first place. But anyway.
Thanks for owning that.
Oh, I do. And I know it. I learned long ago, don't tell good jokes, so tell the bad ones really well and people love it. So actually they don't, but I love the groans. So serious story. I'm pushing this door open. I go back, I get my soda from the cooler. I'm coming up to the cash register, and all of a sudden, really, there's nothing visual, but what I would describe as in my face, tell her the joke. And I'm checking out, and there's this lady behind the counter. And I'm like, I can't do this. I can't do this. Are you kidding me? The cops will be here within minutes. I can't do this. That night, her husband came in to work and shot her dead.
Wow. Wow.
Now, it's the truth. And I'm not saying it all because you could look it up, and I don't want anybody bugging them. Here's the point, though. This is natural, this is good, and this is stuff that everyone can do. I promise you. Like most singing voices, some people sing prettier, but just about everybody can get through Happy Birthday.
Maybe with a few groans too.
Right.
Yeah.
But use it to connect to the world, to life, to the universe, to the divine, to God, to yourself, to other people.
Yeah.
And understand that playing with it is probably not all that smart. Be gentle. You don't have to be deeply serious. But if you do a casual, let's just see what comes kind of a thing, it's not always fun. It's not always, there's a responsibility that comes in here too. And I'm going to go ahead and stress that. I don't want to finger wag at you, and I don't want to scare you away from exploring yourselves.
Yeah.
But it's normal. It's life affirming and fulfilling. And two, accept the responsibility for having asked to receive something.
Yeah.
Because there's a gift in it, and there's a weight to it. WEIGHT.
Yeah.
And I got other stories, but that's the one that usually sucks the air out of the room when I tell it. So I'll start with the heavy.
The weight to it, right?
Yes, ma'am.
How did you learn discernment? Like, how did you learn what is your imagination versus
Right.
what is messages from the divine? I know a lot of people struggle with that, and I do sometimes
a
too.
lot. Well, part of it is that it comes to us in the exact same way that we make things up. It's that creative popping mind. And you know, as writers, we have this muscle anyway. We were born with it, I think. So it can become very suspect to someone. I grew up in an environment with a bunch of very fact-based people who really couldn't buy this sort of thing, certainly in the schools that I went to. But first of all, recognize that just because it feels like you're making it up, what I usually describe it as, Lisa, is I'm remembering something I never learned. It feels like a memory, although it's about maybe something to come. Maybe it is about something that already happened. Maybe it's about what's going on right now. I never know. That's the thing about casting a net. What you catch, you catch. Yeah. So how do you discern? First of all, don't throw it away just because it seems random. In fact, random's the easiest way for you to be communicated with. It is. It's that random thought, that part of your brain, again, that sparks creativity. That's the easiest place, at least for me, and I find for others too, that sort of thing happens. Discernment it's often a good idea. I call it checking IDs, you know, because there are a lot of voices out there, and some of them have other agendas.
Yes.
And indeed. I'm not going to say evil, darkness, beware. Well, maybe, but maybe just confused. And like all of us, wanting something a little more selfish than everybody's highest good.
Yep.
And we all have those moments. They don't disappear just because you're not walking around in a body anymore. But you know and you're not going to get lied to. Be firm like a parent,
Mm-hmm.
balanced, not vindictive, not angry, not trying to be scary to anything. Just firm and say, what are you here to do? A lot of people like referring to the light. They kind of, it's like the force. It's that's kind of catch-all term for that which is good and spiritual and psychic and not embodied and energetic.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of people say, are you from the light? Are you of the light is my preference.
Mm-hmm.
And then wait, just wait. And there may be one heck of a pause. There really may. Um, a lot of the information that you get doesn't necessarily come from entities that are used to using language, and there is a real delay in doing that. I have one guide who loves puns and bad jokes, so you know he picked me. And a lot of times, for example, I'll ask people like to ask names.
Mm-hmm.
What's the name of that one? What I get back most of the time is, why do you people always want to know that?
Yeah.
We don't bother with that out here. Think
Mm-hmm.
about someone, to think of it this way. Think about someone that you knew in your life that was important to you. Now just go ahead and think of someone.
Mm-hmm.
Think of how, notice how that feels, that
Mm-hmm.
feeling you have, maybe the hairs up on your arms, a little feeling in your body, right? And in your spirit. That's what I'm told is that's what we use instead of names. I'm
Yeah.
thinking about
Yeah.
this one.
You
We
know,
don't do that kind of thing.
yeah.
Anyway.
This happened to me just a couple weekends ago. I was sent on, I call them divine assignments when,
Mm-hmm.
I'm told go do certain things in certain places. And so I went to this location and did, my energetic spiritual work. And when I got in my car and was driving to the next location for the next effort, I felt the undeniable presence of my pawpaw. So this is my dad's dad who passed
Oh,
away in 1998. And the work that I had done before was relevant to part of his life here on earth when he was here. And it's like he came in after that and his message was, hey sis, we got your back. Hey sis, we're here, we got your back. But there was no doubt in my mind that it was him, because it just felt, if everything is energy and everything's like vibrational,
yeah.
it was such a familiar energy that there was no doubt. My uncle Jim, who passed away when I was in college, that's another one that every once in a while in meditation, he'll show up, and I know that it's him from the way that feeling nature. And so, sometimes for some of us, thoughts might pop in our heads, we might hear voices, we might see things, others of us feel things, or maybe a combination of all of that. But I've really learned to pay attention to the feelings and how my energy reacts to something. And there are times when thoughts have popped in my head, or I know someone or something, is trying to communicate with me, when it doesn't feel real good inside. And I'm like, nope, you're out of here, and recognizing that I'm sovereign and I have authority and control over this interaction. And if it doesn't feel like, if it doesn't feel like a loving, joyful, benevolent presence, you got no room in my space. You're gone, and bounce them out. But learning how to combine all of that, okay, thoughts are coming in. Are these thoughts mine? Are they coming from elsewhere? Normally I can tell, that
Oh,
this isn't
yeah.
me. I'm not that creative. I'm not that good. This is something else. But combining that with, and how does it make me feel? Because if
Right.
I'm feeling loving or effervescent or, joy filled, please share more.
That's a
I'm going
really
to
good
invite
point.
that in. Yeah.
And maybe some of the same skills that we use just talking with people. Remember when we used to talk in restaurants to strangers? Just the
Back
same
in those
skill
days.
back in the day. But the same skills that we have with humans walking around.
Mm-hmm.
The same kind of responses. This feels a little, I don't know, not quite right. Okay.
And a sketch.
No, no, thank you.
Yeah.
And no thank you works fine. And if that doesn't work fine, again, parroting, be firm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No is a wonderful word. Don't lose it.
You told me recently about a little adventure you went on when you had no plan, and the
Oh, that one.
whole thing was just a matter of what I call, in writing the book that I'm currently working on, I call it active surrender. The
Yeah.
idea of aligning with that voice, with that greater, that and when I say greater, I just mean that additional wisdom that we might not be conscious of here, but sometimes it's the inner wisdom, maybe it's always the inner wisdom, I don't know, but or the outer wisdom, whatever, but aligning with that, allowing it to work through us, and then taking action on what it encourages. And you told me of quite an adventure. And while I'm not asking you to necessarily relate the whole story, because it
I
was a
was going to
big,
say it's a long
exciting
story.
story, but what was the nugget that you took out of that in terms
Sure.
of when you are willing to listen and take action, even when it doesn't make any logical sense to the logical mind?
Yeah.
What difference does that make?
First of all, it's so beautiful.
Mm.
It is so, on the back end. Don't expect it to be beautiful in the middle because sometimes it's a little unnerving. But on the back end, when everything just comes together, it's like a sweater raveling instead of unraveling. Just
Mm.
all of a sudden, here's the thing. Here's the thing. And it's like, I never would have seen that coming. I never would have tried to make that. I know. That's why we set all this up.
Yeah.
Um, First of all, I like to say that angels start with the letter A because it encourages us to ask in the
Whew.
first
Yeah.
place. So ask.
Mm-hmm.
But how does it feel? What is it like? Trust when it's rewarded is probably the most valuable experience I know of in human existence next to love,
Mm-hmm.
which of course is trust rewarded, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Um, so I think that it's affirming at such a deep level. I mean, you want to believe that the universe is in constant conspiracy for your highest good all the time anyway.
Yeah.
So if you actually drop into that as if it's so, and find that you're sustained by the outcome of having done that, I for once in my life, words escape me. It is just, it's the stuff.
It's
It's
the
the
stuff.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really is. I
Mhm.
mean, love, however you define God, however you define the divine, whatever your piece is, and mine's fragments of lots of stuff. We'll probably talk about that later. But the experience that underneath are the everlasting arms, the experience that you will be held and caught and loved and cherished, and that's the way the universe works.
Mm.
That's what you get for having done that surrender piece. It is hard to beat.
Yeah. I know for many people, and especially for many men, and for me too, I'll admit, but especially many men that I've talked to, that idea of surrender, even the
Mm.
word, it's like, forget that. I want to be in
Mm.
control, and I don't want to have to ask for directions to be in control. And I got this. And surrender is a dirty word and only for losers, you know? And I know that you've worked in with men for decades now.
Not quite 30 years.
Okay.
Yeah, a little while.
And in terms of opening up to, and here's a fellow from the South, who's
Right.
willing, in collaboration with other men, to support them, and allow them to support you in opening up spiritually, emotionally, completely, that surrender, that vulnerability. I know a lot of men that would never in a million years even consider anything like that. But I'm wondering if through that, if you found even greater strength, even greater courage, even greater, all the stuff that people consider manly, if you found even more of that by being willing to be vulnerable and open.
I think it's necessary to
Mm.
connect
Mm-hmm.
to anybody.
Yeah.
And otherwise, you're just dancing. You're just going through the motions like, we are so getting along and understanding each other, and you can't see me.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
It's,
Yeah.
if you can't see me, we're not doing anything but shadow puppets. And that's all vulnerability is allowing yourself to get seen, yourself to get seen. And it's dangerous feeling,
Mm.
particularly, I think being Southern helps in some ways, to be honest
Love
with you,
that.
because if I'm doing it, there's a couple other people who go, well, the redneck's doing it. I guess maybe I can take a little risk here. He already kind of looks wide open, so I can be ajar and
Mm-hmm.
be safe.
Mm-hmm.
That's good. And in men's work, that's helpful too.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you never know. Your characteristics are your skill set.
Mm.
All those things that you wish you could change about yourself, okay, I'm a little heavy, I'm a little white, I'm a little Southern, I'm a little white. Um, they're all the things that you can use to touch people too.
Mm.
They are there, and learning to use them is integral, I think. Leadership taught me a lot about this.
Mm-hmm.
As a leader, and particularly men, I mean men in general, uh, and especially Southern ones, but men in general, there's a real feeling that you got to intimidate, you got to be respected at all times, and no one can see the cracks, no one can see the doubt, no one can see you.
Mm.
I understand that. I even can still make that mistake. I get it. And just speaking of leadership, but I think we're talking about leadership of the self. So I'm going to talk about leadership in general because I think it educates backwards. I'm probably saying it goofy, but if you can follow me, that's what I mean.
Gotcha.
In doing that, you lead and you do make a decision and you stand on the decision and you do lead in that way. But all of us are always smarter than any of us.
Yeah. Nice.
Bringing other people in is important. And teaching other men to lead is important. Your advisors are leaders. Get them to become that too. Help them in their process.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the most brilliant things I ever saw, Lisa, was on a men's retreat weekend. We were doing major, major work with a guy who had really been traumatized in his life. And he was going through bringing it out to everybody. And this wonderful man, I'm going to name him, named Mike Kennard. God rest his soul. I miss you, Mike. Mm. Suddenly in charge of everything. And this was a man with tremendous experience, more than I currently have. Mm-hmm. Turned and looked at us in his wonderful half Mark Twain Southern way with the big bristly mustache and said, I don't have any idea what happens next. Y'all got a clue? And I swear to God, I learned so much about being a man in that 4 seconds. Mm-hmm. Because I said, you mean you can do that?
That's allowed?
You can do that? It just thunderstruck me. Wow. That of course you don't have to know everything. Of course you don't have to front. Of course, authenticity is always going to be more powerful than a good act. And yeah, the vulnerability doesn't come from, okay, I'm going to scratch open my chest until you actually see the blood vessels. That's a consequence of just being willing to be open and authentic, 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 and show up. And what I usually tell myself is, when I'm channeling or leading or anything else, is, Kier, keep your lips moving and tell the truth. We'll handle the rest.
Yeah.
And I think that's it. I think that's it. And vulnerability, I mean, you can tell, you guys watching this have seen me now for 30 minutes, but you know, I'm not exactly playing bluff poker and keeping my cards close. But yeah, that would be my answer.
Thank you. Thank you.
No, thank you for asking the question. You never know what you know until somebody asks you.
So as we're drawn to a close on our time, I am curious, the one question I just love to ask, which is, when it comes to all this stuff, right? The scenic route to the soul, or of the soul, whatever happens on this messy dirt road of inner work, what do you believe?
I'm going to start with what I just said. I really do believe that the more authentic you are, the more you'll connect. I also think that that's a two-part equation, and you better learn to listen. If you don't allow space for someone else to be authentic, and oftentimes when you are, you do give the other person permission to do that. But you accept what they give you. You accept what they give you, because that's what they're ready to do. So openness, authenticity, acceptance. Connection arises from that. That's the stuff. But what do I believe? I honestly believe that there are a whole host of things out there you can't see that want your life to be a massive, beautiful success. And if you will just give that a chance to even be a whisper in your ear, I'm not talking about giving it the throne and losing control. Surrender doesn't mean take your hands off the wheel, Jesus, keep me on the road. It means allowing help to come. Human form, other forms, if it's a tree or a rock. And the universe and God, as I understand it, usually the response that I've been made aware of is kind of a chuckle and then a, well, finally, glad you asked.
Welcome.
Yeah, exactly.
We've been waiting patiently.
Thank you. Thank you. This has been wonderful. And I like talking to you anyway, you know that. But like it goes, I've enjoyed the others too. I've watched the other three so far.
Oh, yay. Thank you.
Thanks for undertaking this work. You're making a difference. You are. And I hope you stay with it.
Thank you. I think it's so important. I believe that there are many ways to connect, and that the more that we can see in other people what's true for them, you know, might not be exactly true for me, but if I can see that other people have their own set of truths and how they connect and what's meaningful in their world and the lens through which they see the divine, that maybe, just maybe, you know, we might find nuggets of wisdom and insight for ourselves, or that someone might realize that, hey, my way is okay. Even if it's not, you know, mainstream way, my way is okay. And if it brings more joy and love and smiles to our life.
Just the feel good, just the feel good.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I value you, your insights, your wisdom, and your time. So thank you very much for joining in the conversation today. And I have a feeling there might be other opportunities to talk and play and share in the future.
I'll look forward to it. Love you.
Fantastic. Love you too. Have a great day.